All right, welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's often called the invisible art of video editing. We're going to dive into the essential cuts that editors use to build stories, create real emotion, and guide your attention. And they do it all without you even noticing. So, let's get into it.
But first, I have a question for you. I want you to think about your favorite movie, or that viral clip you just watched, or even what you're watching right now. What is the one thing that is happening constantly, shaping your entire experience, but is specifically designed to be completely invisible?
You got it. It's the cut. It's the simplest, most fundamental building block. It's just the end of one clip and the immediate start of another. You could say it's the basic grammar of visual storytelling. It's what turns a giant pile of raw footage into a story that you actually want to watch.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this grammar, we've got to start with the basics. These next two are the foundational cuts you'll see pretty much everywhere. They're the absolute workhorses of the editing world.
First up is the standard cut, sometimes called a straight cut, and it is exactly what it sounds like. One clip ends, the next one begins. Boom! No special effects, no fancy transitions. It's the default way an editor gets you from one moment to the next, plain and simple.
But what if you want to mess with time? Well, that's where the jump cut comes in. This is a really interesting one. It's a cut that happens within the same continuous shot to make the action just leap forward. You're basically chopping up one long take to speed things up without changing the camera angle.
So why would you do this? Well, a jump cut is a fantastic tool for injecting some pace and energy. It lets an editor slice out all the boring bits, the pauses, the mistakes, and just get straight to the good stuff. It's super efficient, and it can even be used for a little bit of comedic timing.
So here's the bottom line, right? A standard cut is all about continuity. It keeps the story flowing seamlessly. A jump cut, on the other hand, it intentionally breaks that continuity. Its whole job is to control the pacing and keep things feeling dynamic and engaging.
So we've got our basic cuts down, but what if you can make those transitions even smoother, even more elegant? Well, editors do this all the time by building bridges with sound, using these awesome techniques called J and L cuts.
Let's start with the J cut. This is when you lead into a new scene with its sound. Basically, you hear what's happening in the next shot before you actually see it. It's a really simple but super powerful way to kind of give the audience a little heads up about what's coming next. And this is where the J cut is just so useful. It's perfect for building anticipation or for making a transition between two totally different locations feel really smooth. It just helps the whole thing flow better because it gives your brain a split second to process the new sound before the new picture pops up. And the opposite of that? Well, that's the L cut. This is when the audio from the first clip actually carries over into the second clip. So you see a new shot, but you're still hearing the sound from the shot you just left.
L cuts are an absolute game changer in conversations. Think about it. An editor can show one person talking, then L cut to the other person's silent reaction, while the first person is still finishing their sentence. This is totally essential for showing emotional depth and creating a natural back-and-forth rhythm in dialogue.
So why the letters J and L? Well, it's actually pretty literal. They get their names from the shape the audio and video clips make on an editing timeline. In a J cut, the audio track scoops under the video clip before it, forming a J. And in an L cut, the audio extends over the next video clip, forming an L. Simple as that. All right, we've nailed the fundamentals. Now let's get into the really cool stuff. The advanced cuts that go way beyond simple transitions. These are the techniques that create powerful thematic connections and, honestly, a much deeper meaning. First up is the cut on action. This is when you edit from one angle to another right in the middle of a movement, like a character opening a door or picking up a glass. The whole point here is to hide the cut. Your eye is so busy following the motion that you don't even register that the camera angle changed. It feels completely seamless. But what if you want to do something even more ambitious? What if you want a cut that, as this quote says, takes the audience from here to there before they even realize what happened?
And that, my friends, is the absolute magic of the match cut. This is a cut that links two totally different shots by matching some kind of visual element between them. Imagine a shot of someone striking a match, and just as the flame erupts, we cut to a shot of a desert sunrise. It creates this powerful, poetic connection between two things that otherwise have nothing in common.
Next, we have a technique called cross-cutting, which you might also hear called parallel editing. This is when an editor cuts back and forth between two or more scenes that are happening in different places, but usually at the exact same time. Now, why do this? It's an incredible way to build suspense or to draw really powerful comparisons. The classic example everyone points to is the baptism scene in The Godfather. The editor cross-cuts between Michael and a church, renouncing Satan, and his men carrying out these brutal murders. The meaning created there is it's iconic, and it simply wouldn't exist without cross-cutting.
So we've looked at all these techniques, from the super simple to the really complex. But that raises a big question. With all these tools in the toolbox, how does an editor actually decide which cut to use and when? What's their guiding principle, their North Star?
To answer that, we have to talk about a legend, the editor Walter Murch, and his famous Rule of Six. Now, it's not a set of rigid rules you have to follow. Think of it more like a hierarchy of priorities, a checklist he runs through for every single cut he makes.
And this is it's fascinating. Murch actually assigned a weight to each priority. At the very, very top, worth more than everything else combined, is emotion, 51%. Does the cut feel right? Way below that, you have story, then rhythm, and all the technical stuff, like making sure the geography of the room is consistent. That's way down at the bottom.
And that really brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. The technical rules, yeah, they're important, but they should always, always be in service of the feeling. According to Murch, the best cut is the one that's true to the emotion of that specific moment. If a cut feels right and helps the story, it's a good cut, even if it technically breaks some old-school editing rule.
So the next time you're watching anything, a movie, a show, a commercial, try to spot these techniques, because now the art of the cut is no longer invisible to you. The only question left is, now that you can see how the magic trick is done, what new layers of story, what new kinds of emotion are you going to start to notice?